actually a reality now. Those of you who were here at the panel last year know that there's a very specific makeup. Now, obviously, we couldn't make synthetic blood for human consumption. So what we did is we put together a nice little mixture of a kind of delightful Chateau Lafite Rothschild Cabernet with some actual blood of hemophiliac European royalty. A little vodka, a little Vicodin, a little Viagra. And ecstasy. Unfortunately, it's completely illegal. All kidding aside, True Blood, there is a True Blood drink that will be available September 10th. It's actually a very tasty blood orange soda. All natural, made with all natural ingredients. The bottle and the label is an exact replica of the props that we use on the show. And it will be available September 10th, just in time for your viewing party for the final episode of Season 2. You can also pre-order the drink at HBO online, HBO.com online store. And I think that's good for it. Before we start, we also have a little treat for everyone. We put together a trailer for the last half of Season 2. A true that has never been seen before. It was prepared especially for you guys. And let's take a look at it.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, please turn off all recording devices.
The war has begun. We are prepared for Armageddon. The bond between the Empire's makers strong intention action. You chose them? I know this woman.
season, and how has that affected how you approach the role?
Well, I think after last season, where she almost got killed as well, frequently and on a regular, almost episodically basis, she is stronger, she's tougher, she's been through a lot, and she's grown up pretty quickly. Unfortunately, she still sort of tends to get herself involved in situations that she can't really control and where she's likely to end up being, killed or something, which is why it's good she still has her vampire boyfriend. But as far as how I play it, I'm just trying to sort of imagine what it would be like to have gone through as much as she went through in the 2 weeks or whatever our last season was, and just suddenly find myself in these situations. But that's kind of what my job is.
And one of those situations, Stephen, that she's in is she's certainly being admired by more than one vampire. So, if I'm just going to ask you a hypothetical. If something were to happen between Eric and Bill would respond.
I think that it's very difficult to get away from the rangy Swede at the end of the tape. But I'm not sure that Bill is going to just roll over and let it happen. So I think that he's going to fight his hardest and maybe not be quite as polite as he has been up until this point.
Now, a character that we're seeing some really big changes with is Tara. And Martina, why don't you tell us what it's like playing the softer side of her this season?
I definitely enjoy playing the softer side of her just because it shows a lot more of her vulnerability. I call Tara a hard flower. Like, she's got this hard case on the outside, but yet she's this delicate Juliet on the inside. And I think it's nice for everyone to see that part of her, because obviously she wasn't taken care of as a child. So I think this season you're seeing her being taken care of by Marianne's character, and I think that's sort of a nice thing to see for her. Even though people miss the fiery, feisty anger, it's nice to see another range.
And Alan, as we've seen, there's going to be a lot of action coming up in the second half of the season. As a writer, how do you balance all the action with the close emotional relationships that this show has come to be known for as well? How do you balance those two things?
I actually make a joke about us having a sign in the writer's room that says it's the emotions, stupid. We don't actually have that sign, but we might as well, because without that, all of the action and all of the crazy set pieces and all of the, craziness in the world is just going to be, it's not going to have a heart, it's not going to have a soul. And so we just really work really hard to always remember who these characters are, what they want, what their passions are, what they need, what they're fighting for, so that the other stuff has a foundation, an emotional foundation. And I think that's one of the reasons that, I know that's one of the reasons I responded to Charlene's books as much as I did, because that was very much true of her books, and we're just trying to do the same thing in the show.
All right, now, and a source of a lot of this action coming up is Marianne. And Michelle, I wanted to ask you, especially for this crowd here at Comic-Con, they know you from other shows in the sort of in the sci-fi, fantasy genre, and we've seen you play some very powerful women, and again in True Blood, a very powerful woman. So why do you think this genre lends itself to female characters who are this powerful?
I think the genre gives a lot of freedom to see things that could be possible in the future, and that is women. Mary McDonald and I spoke a lot about this on Battlestar. She's a goddess, by the way. And I think that it just sort of opens up it takes a lot of the cliches out of our minds. We're able to have more freedom in our thought. And I think it's just a very forgiving genre, and especially on this show, everything is so heightened in one sense, but the beautiful thing about Alan and our writers is it's so grounded in emotions. And And I think we're seeing an entirely new love for these different genres.
Okay. And Nelson, since he had his pretty bad experience down there in the basement?
Well, I think Lafayette's hustle is supreme. And he's figured out that it's not going to work for him to get him out of the situation. And that's something that's foreign. So now I think he's rethinking his hustle and maybe he's going to stop doing it. But we'll see. We'll see.
Okay, thank you. Charlene, you and I have talked before, and something funny that came up when we were talking was, you were saying, you know, when I first saw True Blood, when I first saw it, there were some scenes that made me just go, whoa, I had to cover my eyes. So can you tell us a little bit about that experience when you first saw your book brought to life?
HBO was kind enough to send me a copy before the premiere, and I watched it, and you know, some of the scenes I went, oh! And then I called my husband and I said, honey, we're going to have to move.
And I guess you're assuming we all know what those scenes were. Yes. Okay. Now, Sam, we've talked a little bit about how your character's been a little unlucky in love, but we're seeing him right now with someone who he seems to have a lot in common with, Daphne, but we've heard some hints out there that things might not be going so well with that. So what's up with Sam and his future with women? Is he going to find a nice girl?
Well, he gets a little bit lucky with Daphne, but Sam's a real magnet for abuse this year. In a lot of ways, I'm just trying to survive this year. I think just trying to get by. But Sam's journey in this year and hopefully years to come it really is sort of sparked by his meeting with Daphne and what she teaches him and whether he grows from that or regrets it. We'll have to see.
Okay. All right. So, Deborah, when we talked on set, you were telling me, you know, this is really it's your first big television gig. You're not far out of USC, and this cast has really been helpful to you in making a transition into working in television. Can you give us an example of a particular scene, maybe that this audience has already seen, where someone in the cast was sort of a mentor to you or helped you get through something tough?
Sure. Well, I tend to be kind of a nervous person. In fact, I will warn you all right now, I'm a little bit nervous, so I'm currently picturing all of you in your underwear. But I remember in episode 4, Alan had written these beautiful words, and I was very, very sick. I had 102 temperature, and I had completely lost my voice. And I remember working on that and feeling like a total failure, like I wasn't able to give what I wanted to give to it for Alan and everyone who had worked on it. And I was doing a scene with Steve and Anna and Jim, and all of them were just so supportive, and they said, you know, you can be quiet when we do our sides. You don't have to use your voice right now. And then I'd go off in the corner and do a lot of old school theater exercises and just squeezed it out when I got up there. But for me, it's that moral support that really helped me.
All right. So, long time. And no matter what happens, he's still so drawn to her. He just can't shake her. Why is that? What's going on there?
Well, just look at her. I'm sorry, Stephen. No, I think Eric's been around for a very long time. He's been around for 1,000 years, and he's kind of over humanity by now. He's seen it all, and he kind of thinks they're in general kind of pathetic and naive, and then she comes along and there's something different about her, and I think the fact that he can't really put his finger on what it is excites him, and for the first time in a really long time, he's curious. Yeah, and of course he wants to kind of explore that and see where that takes him.
We'll see where that goes. Well, Eric is curious. I know a lot of you are curious too. So what we're going to do now is take questions from the audience. I know that some of you have been waiting for a very long time to ask. So we're ready for those. If you on the floor are ready to go.
This question is for Charlotte Harris. Now that True Blood's in its second series, or second season, is it going to affect the Sookie Stackhouse novels that you're going to continue to write, now that you see it on the screen?
I like the fact that you said I'm going to continue to write them. I just signed a contract for 3 more. So that'll get us up to, I think, 2014. Sorry, guys. I don't think I'm that affected by the show because those are past books that the current plot is kind of hooked to. And I'm way beyond that now. Things have changed. In my books, Eric's got a completely different maker from the maker in the show. There are all kinds of changes. But I hope that you all see it as a great opportunity to have 2 different entertainment experiences.
Hi. This question is primarily for Alexander. Sorry, this was intended before the preview was shown, but your character has gone from very dark, very evil, and kind of progressed to almost vulnerable in the second season. And I was wondering how that progression has really come about and how it's going to extend into the future.
Well, I think it's in book number 1, Eric is just in this one little sequence, and I knew that going into season 1 that Eric wouldn't play a huge part. He would just basically come in as this, well, if you want to call it evil vampire leader and like boss Bill around and then exit back into the dark. Eric was kind of misunderstood because of that. A lot of people came up to me and like, oh, you're the evil, the bad guy, and I always had to defend Eric because I think there's a lot more to him than that. And season 2 has been great because I actually got a chance to show that. I mean, he is badass, of course. But I'm just happy to, because I mean, as an actor, you can't play the same note for 2 years. You have to show different layers and go deeper and show that there's more to the character than that. And I've had fun this season because I've actually been able to show that he does have a sensitive side, a loyal side, and he doesn't care for a lot of people and not for a lot of vampires either, but the ones he cares about, he's very, very, very loyal and devoted to. I love you too. I mean it.
For season 3, I know what my friends and I are really excited to see. I'm just curious as to what you're excited in doing.
And this question was for
everybody.
What was the question?
Yeah, what are you excited about doing in season 3? What are you looking forward to?
I have to be honest, it is so much fun to work on the show that I'm just excited that there is a season 3. Even though I don't think that's been officially announced, but I think it will be very soon. Some of my favorite parts of the book, certainly I'm looking forward to seeing werewolves for the first time. I definitely am interested to getting into the world of Russell Edgington and the Mississippi vampires. I'm really excited about the character of Debbie Pelt because I think she's kind of awesome, and I am really looking forward to continuing the Unfortunately, I cannot figure out a way to put Bowman in the show without it taking us out of the show. He works so well in the books because you can imagine that it actually is Elvis. But if we put him in the show, it's going to be an Elvis impersonator, and there's something going to be kind of cheesy about that.
The fans have spoken.
This is a question for Alan and for Alex. I was wondering, pink spandex, yes or no? Pink spandex.
Great answer.
Regarding putting Eric in pink spandex, I had planned not to, but maybe you've changed my mind.
Okay. Next question.
From that preview that we just showed that I hope we get to see again, was that blonde hair behind Suki and
I'm sorry, what was that question?
the preview that we just showed for the rest of season 2? It looked like blonde hair on the person who was lying in bed with Suki. So is that Eric?
I got no idea what you're talking about.
All right, my question is for Alex. I wanted to ask what's it like transitioning from Sweden's media industry to America's media industry?
If this was in Sweden, this would be in a barn with about 35 people, and about 25 of them would be named Skarsgård.
Okay.
This question's for Alan. I want to know how you make the musical choices for the credits, because you're really clever with that.
You mean the opening credits or the final credits?
Credits.
Well, the song Bad Things by Jace Everett. When I first shot the pilot and edited it and gave it to HBO, that was sort of a placeholder. And I didn't really know that song very well. I had gone on iTunes and just sort of randomly gone through country western and picked some stuff that I liked. What's interesting is as we put the title sequence together, we had a lot of other options. We had some people write things specifically for it, and nothing ever worked as well as Jason's song. So that's the one we ended up with because it just kind of was perfect.
But the ending.
In terms of the end credits, I work with a very, very talented music supervisor named Gary Calamar, who also did the same job on 6 Feet Under. He brings us very interesting choices. Sometimes the writers will put a choice in the script, sometimes We'll use that choice. Sometimes that choice will end up costing $85,000, and so we won't use that choice. Sometimes we'll pick the writer's choice, but it just doesn't fit, it doesn't feel right. And so Gary is the guy who brings in all the options that we choose at that point. And we try to pick something that is appropriate, both content-wise in terms of the lyrics to the episode that has preceded it, but also in terms of musically the emotions, the emotion that it sort of sells.
Okay, next
one. Hi, this question is for Sam and Regina. Even though your characters are currently seeing other people on the show, how do you feel about a possible rekindling of the flames between your characters?
I'd be psyched about that.
Like a little tan action.
Okay, there you have it. First of all, Step Moyer, you will always be Prince Valiant to me.
I don't know who that is.
I would like to know, though, what other projects is the cast working on other than True Blood?
I'd like to thank you very much for the Prince Valiant reference. For those of you who don't know, I had to have a ridiculous mullet in 1997 and ride around on a horse and do very silly things with mechanical crocodiles. I think some of it's on YouTube as well. I've got a couple of things coming up. I'm waiting to finalise a film called Tribes of October. The director is ill, unfortunately, so we've been put back to the 5th of October, and it might clash with, if it pushes any further, it might clash with shooting this again. And but before that I'm doing a British film called Flutter, about gambling. So.
Okay. First, I just want to say I love the book. And for everyone, which of your characters do you like or dislike the most?
What about your character?
Yeah, what about your characters you like or dislike the most?
So let's just pick one person to answer that. And is there someone?
What do I like the most about Sophie? I like that she says what she's thinking, even if it's not always a really good idea. I admire that. I like that she kind of, jumps in and gets involved, even though it usually gets her into trouble, but she really means well. What do I not like about her? Well, Charlene and the creators have written her as a non-natural blonde. I would be spending a lot less time in the hair salon, getting my roots retouched. And my hair would be probably a little bit longer because it's gradually getting shorter as the eddies break off, because I'm a fake blonde, obviously. But aside from that, Sophie and I get along great.
Hi. I was wondering if the love triangle between Eric, Sophie, and Bill is going to play out on screen as it does in Charlotte's novel.
My battery's gonna die and I'm streaming. There's still over 1,000 people.
Has your portrayal of the character been influenced by the books?
Well, I read the books rapidly to try to know as much as I could about the part while I was auditioning. because I really wanted it and I wanted to know as much as I could. And I felt that the Sookie that was on the page of the script was very much like the Sookie in the books. So at this point it's kind of hard to unmarry the two. I don't know, it's sort of tricky because I guess also that comes down to what was my interpretation of the Sookie on the page in the books versus the Sookie on the page in the script, and then what I did with that, the directors and all the input. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know, it's sort of hard to tell, to really give a good answer on that at this point.
Does anyone else feel strongly about that, about how did the book influence you at all?
Well, I think in general, I read the first 5 books before we started season 1, and it's obviously great to learn a bit about the character, but at some point you need to kind of make him or her your own and take control of the character and kind of leave the book behind you. And you have a path and you just stick to it. But it's obviously fantastic to have that before you start a project, to have like at the point 8, now 9 books to read and collect information about your character.
And also, one thing about our writers and Alan specifically, I think that is incredible is that every time they give you something to play and they see you play it and that works, they then think, well, it seems anyway, that they think, if we've seen him do that or her do that, what if we put them in a completely different place? And so we see them, if we've seen them react to this, how are they going to react to that? And by that, we sort of get all these different colours that you, as the audience, get to, like or dislike, and it becomes much more complex to play, I think.
All right, let's go on to another question.
Hello. I was curious how much more of a handful Jess is going to be for Bill.
As much as they'll let me.
Okay.
Question is for both Alan and Alexander. Alan, thank you for creating gay characters with dimension and not caricatures, by the way. Between Eric and Lafayette and Eric and Godric.
Well, obviously they're all gay lovers. And they spend the summers together in Fire Island. I think the dynamic between Eric and Lafayette is one of, I think obviously Lafayette is terrified, scared to death of Eric, and with good reason. And Eric is intrigued by Lafayette and may have plans for him in the future, which we will find out about. Jump in, Alexander, if I'm saying something that you feel is completely not fitting in with what...
I concur.
I believe that Eric looks at Godric exactly as Godric talks about their relationship when they first meet. It is father, brother, son. And it is the most important, he is the most important person in Eric's life. And he's known him ever since he was born as a vampire, and there is a tremendous, tremendous love there. I don't think it's romantic, but I also think it's probably the relationship, as somebody said,